Do you remember me?
No, yeah.
Okay.
I remember you. I mean, I talked to you. I just saw it from the name.
It's okay. It's okay. Yeah. So are you heading to Korea right now?
No.
Did Mr. Garber communicate to you something, correspond to you concerning the 2492?
What one?
The Students for Life bill?
What correspondence thing as far as?
Yeah, well, I don't want to, I'm not holding it up. Okay, you cool with talking? Okay. Just want to be respectful when you're like, get something. There's a section there, I was just wondering if you'd read it, if you thought about what it says and what it would actually functionally do.
They are here, they are headed up right now from the visitor center.
It's not going to pass anyway because it's for most people it's too radical. I know for you guys it's not that important, but for most people out there, it'd be too radical.
Oh yeah.
So it's not going to get a hearing or go anywhere.
Sure.
Anyway,
Oh sure. But I was just thinking it was just taking an opportunity with the bill to see that language of one of the just even one spot, just to wonder what your thoughts are.
As far as that.
Well, section 3A, and it said, I should pull it up, but it's like it's talking about it says, the woman upon whom the abortion is attempted or performed is not liable. And then, I know you're saying it's not going to go anywhere, but just something to think about.
Well, my perspective is that, I signed on to in support of your guys' bill, but I don't agree with you when it comes to opposing the incremental stuff or the stuff that doesn't go as far as it should. So even though that's not...
Sure. I'm sorry. I didn't know.
Well, I agree with your position as far as what we should ultimately try to pass, but I don't agree with opposing incremental steps that don't go quite that far.
Sure.
So that's kind of my perspective, that even though that's not ideal or what we should ideally support, I want to do as much as we can to save the lives of unborn children. But
Sure.
I know you have a different perspective. This is basically, your bill is basically all that you support because you think if it doesn't go that far, then you're not going to support anything other than full-fledged abolition.
Right. Well, do you remember why? I think I may have explained it. The foundation of it is we don't want to put in law something that's unjust, because God hates that stuff. And it's also backfires on us because, like for example, this is like an example of what you're talking about. It's not merely because it doesn't go all the way. It's what are those things? Because for example, what you could technically call a righteous increment, if you want to use those terms, would be someone has recently suggested that we try pushing for a House resolution that says the Supreme Court was wrong in 2019. And it's not a law. It's just we say this, kind of like they said we condemn Hamas's activity on October 7th. Well, it's a resolution where the actual House can say, "Hi, Suzanne," is that we declare that what they did is unconstitutional. And you could technically call that an increment, because it doesn't abolish abortion, but it's doing something righteous by saying that was wrong. You should never have done that. We should not have let you do it. We should not have just let it happen. So that would be an example of something that's an increment, but it could be righteous if pursued. Is that
kind of like versus legislation that has exceptions in it.
Well, for example, like what did you think of? I don't know if you read it, but what did you? It says like section 1 and 2. This is the Students for Life bill. It has where no one shall perform an abortion or attempt it, and then no one shall dispense, make the pill that aborts children. That's kind of summary. You could read. And then part 3 says nothing in those two sections shall be construed to impose any liability on the woman.
Well,
so then she's...
Well, but I also, like I said, I also signed on to your bill which punishes women. So
exactly.
So, and you may view that as being contradictory, but I just view it as it's both bills that would save lives of children. If they were passed, there would be a lot fewer abortions.
So I understand what you're saying, but I'm not trying to just that wasn't me. I'm just saying that if this was passed in the law, it would be in the law.
Well, yeah.
Protecting a woman from being.
But then if it passed in the law, then you could go a step further later and take that away and say that we are.
You could, but you have actually declared with the law of the land that she's immune. Well, and most of the abortions are not by doctors.
Yeah, I understand, but it's not going to go anywhere anyway.
Sure.
It won't even get a hearing because for most people it's too radical or too.
Of course. Well, I mean, and that's we have a bill that's going to be introduced. But I was going to point that out to you and say, here, check. And it's actually different from the last one.
Well, I think he's going to introduce it, Trevor.
Yes.
Yeah.
It was today. We thought it was today, but then we found out that it's tomorrow. I think.
Yeah.
But it's a different. It's not like the other one where it was all this like 80 pages, 60 pages. It's 4, and it's basically functionally just puts abortion into.
Yeah, I saw that on.
Oh, you did see it?
Well, I saw it on Facebook. So
Oh, okay.
that, like aim abolishing.
Yes, in Kansas, yes. So it has. So basically puts it in there, and then shows that this is not to be construed as if a doctor basically has the whole what about the doctors
Well,
are trying to.
if it were an individual bill, I'd co-sponsor it like I did before, because I co-sponsored your bill last.
Yeah. Hey, well, we weren't even trying to get sponsors this time.
Right.
Because we're just.
Because it's a committee vote.
It will be introduced into things state directly by.
Yeah, so because it's a committee vote, you don't get co-sponsors for that. You know, like you would with the individual.
Okay. Oh, okay. So that make I was not aware of that. I knew the distinction that individuals could present or committees could present.
Yeah.
But that's how that. Okay. So this is a committee presentation. This is,
Well, a committee bill. That way you can just introduce it to the committee that you want it to go to.
Okay.
Assuming the speaker doesn't reassign it, but they didn't want it to go to the Health and Human Services because I mean, when you go to the Fed and State, you might at least have a chance for hearing. But Health and Human Services, I think, is worse.
Yeah. That's part of why they're doing it. Well,
Yeah.
and frankly, if you think about the nature of it, it doesn't go in health and human services.
Right.
Really, it goes.
Yeah, it's not a health. Yeah,
Yeah.
because it's like you guys always say, abortion is a health.
Yeah. Yeah. So reason why I was just showing it is because that's the kind of thing like, do we really want to put that into our law? Because the law of our land will say that the woman you can't touch her. And knowing that most of the abortions are done by a woman taking a pill and not by a. So that it's not so much.
Isn't there something in there that prohibits abortion by pills too?
It just prohibits the production and sale and dispensing. It doesn't prohibit.
Like moms ordering the pill online or getting and taking it. So it basically, in essence, makes it legal for a mom to take the pill herself without a third party involved, basically, right?
But
I mean,
if there's no production of the pill, then she probably wouldn't have access to it.
Well, in that case, however, in that case though, however she does it, she can do it. I mean, there's homemade concoction YouTube videos now on how you can do it, and you don't even need the pill.
And that would be legal.
Like the old classic, people throw themselves. I mean, it's the point. That's kind of the outlook.
Well,
But it's
like I
just-
said, I just tend to have a different perspective.
Sure,
Because
sure.
I tend to co-sponsor bills that I think lead us in the right direction,
Sure.
even if they're not ideal. But
Sure.
like I said, I'd support your bill.
Yeah. And I'm not denying it. And I also, we appreciate it. So,
Yeah.
I mean, it's more what we're looking for is we want the Lord of the universe to be on our side in this battle. So whenever we put something forth that He's not pleased with, we're actually.
Well, realistically, I mean, whether it's your bill or that bill, any bill that goes that far, it probably isn't going to get a vote, especially because people are just going to say that we can't go against the Supreme Court, and the Supreme Court will strike it down. So that's it can always go to the main arguments.
Sure. And then you press them. You say,
Like, why can't we go against the Supreme Court? Are they God?
Right.
It's like Moses went against Pharaoh, right?
Right.
And
Declaration.
Pharaoh tried to get Moses multiple times to compromise. Like, you don't take all the children, don't take all the animals. And Moses said, not one hoof will be left behind. Moses did not compromise, but we keep compromising, and we're not doing what Moses did with Pharaoh. Like, no compromise. Let my people go. And Isaiah 10 verse 1 says, "Woe to those who enact evil statutes, and to those who constantly record unjust decisions." And any bill or law that even has one exception, life for the mother, rape or incest, fatal deformity, that's an evil evil bill. That says we're gonna protect you, but not you over here. Like whether it has exceptions or says it's illegal for moms to murder someone to murder a mother's baby, but we're gonna give immunity to the mom so she can murder her baby herself, whatever means she chooses. And even if you make it illegal for her to take the pill, she can use something else.
Right.
People always find something else,
But I just think the counter argument is, and I probably think you guys have heard it, and you probably have
Mhm.
You know, if you have a burning house and you have 8 children in a house and you're able to save 6 of the 8 children, you don't just let all 8 of them die. You save as many as you can. If you can save 6 of the children, then you save 6 of them instead of allowing all 8 of them to die. So
Sure.
that's the counter argument. I guess you guys probably have a response to that. But
Yeah.
Yeah, and
But you-
it like, but that's a different scenario than because we did that yesterday at Planned Parenthood. We went there to try to rescue babies.
Yeah.
We're probably not going to rescue them all. We may not even rescue one, but we're there. Very different than if you put a bill into law that actually gives exceptions for murder or gives immunity to anyone involved, whether the mom or the dad or the abortionist, and
But
like you're actually writing that into law.
Yeah, so
But
it's
I
like,
would just, I'll let you say, or I'll let you talk in a minute, but I would just say
Yeah.
that, you know, as long as you say that your ultimate goal is to abolish abortion and to get to a bill like an abolitionist bill like the bill that you guys support, you know, passing that incremental laws, they can always be changed. It's not like that's what's final.
sure.
And so
Yeah, it's true.
it's not necessarily like you're putting those exceptions into law and saying that it's okay to kill in those situations. You're just saying that you want to get to as much as you can right now, and then later we can change that. We can,
Yeah.
you know, do away with those laws and abolish it completely.
Yeah, but you really are saying it's okay. You are saying for that time period it's okay.
But
And-
I think, well, from my perspective, we'd be more saying this is all that we can get passed right now, and later if we get more people up here in the legislature that agree with your point of view, then we can get the full abolition.
So
So,
what's the
do-
Republic? It's an interesting thing. I know that people don't hold all to their whole platform, but I just found out the Republican platform itself says that life and fertilization should all be protected, and we have a supermajority, don't we, of Republicans in both the House and the Senate?
Yeah, it's just like I
So-
said.
and even
you know,
Kansas law affirms that.
Yeah,
Yeah,
it's just,
so-
you know, for one thing, we don't want to go against the Supreme Court, and so, you know, right now,
Yeah,
you know, right now, all they want to do is basically do things like promote adoption and promote,
Yeah.
which is good. I mean,
Is it? Would you say it's
Right,
pretty
but-
much the mindset of like all that you can tell from the Republican Party in Kansas says we can't go against the Supreme Court? Would you say that's the mindset?
Yeah, basically. And I know that you guys didn't support the value in both amendment. That it did have some problems with it, but
You understand why we didn't support
yeah,
it?
but I think if that had passed, then you know we probably would have gone further. I mean, they still probably wouldn't have supported your bill, but they would have supported something more than just promoting adoption.
And not to go into it too much, but like the value in both amendment, or as we call the violence to babies amendment, was typical of pro-life legislation where it actually would have put evil in the Constitution. It's saying that we're going to put the regulation of murder in the Constitution, because that's how it actually started. It started with the wording regulation of abortion. That's the paragraph that would have put in the Constitution itself of Kansas.
That word would not go in there.
And what regulation?
Yeah, it wouldn't go. It would not be. It's the heading of the amendment, but that language that would not have actually gone.
It was actually in the very paragraph. It said it would have put in the Constitution. That was actually highlighted. Like this will be in the Constitution. Regulation of abortion. That was
Yeah, I have to check it.
and the end of the paragraph it gave exceptions for rape, incest, life of the mother.
Well, but
And-
that was kind of a little bit confusing language. But the way that I
Yeah.
understood it is that it wasn't enshrining that into the Constitution as saying that we can't ban abortion in those instances. If it had said that, I wouldn't have supported it. But,
Yeah, it was just saying that you may make laws.
yeah. But,
So you're
but
basically-
but it wasn't saying that you can't ban abortion in cases of the life of the mother or rape or
Yeah,
incest.
it said you may make laws, including that have to do with these things. But
Yeah.
you're basically saying that it's neutral. With that amendment, you would have said that murder of children in the womb is neutral.
And we're going to put in the
But
Constitution.
But it would have allowed us to ban abortion without having the courts overturn it, which is basically.
It may-
So my wonder, why didn't they just leave it the first part?
Wait, what?
Why didn't they just leave that second part off?
Yeah, I mean, they made it way too confusing, I think.
Could
I
have
mean,
said-
it was way too long, way too confusing.
Yeah.
It should have said, it should have been one line that just said there's not a right to an abortion in the Constitution.
Yeah, it's actually prohibited. But
Yeah.
yeah, so
But if that,
So-
I mean, would you have supported then if it just said there's not a right to an abortion?
I thought I would. It just, I think a way to. Is probably have to. I don't want to hold you up all day, but I think the main
I
thing is.
don't have anything until 11.
Oh, okay. Well, the main thing that what we're maybe it's clear. I don't know if we made it clear, but the foundation of like the evaluation of things of what we're saying is we're to do like what he read. We're to do what is right in the eyes of God, our Creator, so that He is for us and not against us in these pursuits.
Yeah, I'm just saying if it had just been a little line that said there's not a right to an abortion, then there wouldn't have been any language when they were saying that abortion is regular. You know, it wouldn't have all that problem.
I think people would have voted for that.
Yeah.
Now there's some argument that it actually still doesn't go for it because the Constitution actually prohibits it.
Right, because it says life, liberty, and pursuit of happiness.
So then they're compromising to get something done.
Yeah.
So it's when there's a proverb also says that a righteous man who gives way to compromise is like a polluted well. And then there's another one that says, if you those who justify the wicked and condemn the innocent, both of these are an abomination.
Proverbs
to God.
17:15.
So if you say, even if it's in your mind, oh, this is temporary, you are for a time saying you're justifying the wicked actions of those who want to murder babies, and you're condemning the children in the womb.
But I would just say that at least those of us who signed on to the abolitionist bill and made it clear that our ultimate goal is to pass.
Absolutely. It's not about that. Well, actually, maybe it is, because the ultimate goal for the abolitionists is to glorify God by the way we're doing it too. Because that's the ultimate goal, the purpose of human beings is to glorify God in all that you do.
I mean, I would just say that, you know, if the only thing that you support is your bill that completely abolishes abortion, and if we can't get that passed, then that means that there's absolutely no laws, no restrictions, and then you have abortion legal through the whole 9 months of pregnancy up until the very end. And so, I mean, that's kind of sort of the argument against it is if we can't pass your bill, then we have unrestricted abortion or more abortion.
Right, but whose fault is that?
Is it
whose fault is like who's responsible for that outcome?
Well, I mean,
those who murder their children.
Yeah.
It's not those who drink life.
It's just more. I mean, I understand your argument, but it's just more of an argument about pragmatism versus idealism. Because you may think that you have the ideal or correct argument, but in all likelihood, it would result in more dead babies, from my perspective.
But check this out. So let's just do. Here we are. We're doing incremental. Piece by piece by piece. We appear to be saving babies. I even have a friend of mine who adopted a child who was saved from being murdered because in Missouri we won't do it. I think she was past 22 weeks or something like that. So it happens. So I'm not denying it happens. But you have, that baby was saved, and all these other babies are still getting murdered, and then you got this time, and you're still going, babies still being murdered the whole time, and then finally, we got it. But it's incremental approach that way, rather than if you go, no, all now. Then babies are still gonna die in the interim of when you push it and get it accomplished. But both ways, babies are gonna die.
Yeah.
So either way, because if it takes longer, then there's more opportunity to kill them.
But if we had no restrictions on abortion, more babies would die.
Why more though? Because it's over time. So it's kind of a flawed. It's a flawed perspective. Because you have over time, you're still.
You'd have more late-term abortions and more abortions like 8 or 9 months.
But if you do like most abortions are first trimester, like 90%.
All
I'm saying is that you've got over time babies being murdered. Let's say it's 5 a year, or you do. It sounds like there'd be more babies spared, but you have more time for people to kill their kids.
Yeah.
And first trimester is how they do it. They kill it. When we're out there, I hardly ever see anybody going in with a belly. They're all flat, and they're walking in because it's like first trimester. Give me the pill. They take it. They walk out, drive home, and that's the majority. I think I saw one. We've seen very few that go in for the actual surgical where they tear the kid apart.
Well, I mean, another thing is that we all live in districts that expect us to vote in favor of all the pro-life legislation, including the incremental stuff, and we would get voted out if we didn't vote for it.
And then it would show that the wickedness would be exposed.
Right, but then you wouldn't have anybody up there that introduced your bills or the.
Not necessarily.
You have us.
Not necessarily.
There are some Christians.
So what's happening though is you have the righteousness you get the leaven of righteousness in there, and you can't stop it. It's going to get to everyone. It's going to get to people eventually. If you have someone doing it, I'm going to run again, and I'm going to.
Have you ran once?
Yeah.
As a Republican.
Yeah, I'm running against Mike Thompson for president.
Which Mike Thompson?
Representative.
Representative.
Yeah.
How much did you?
So I campaigned for maybe 4 weeks because I started way late because I was hoping that he would trying to work out things with him and how his position is, but his position is conflicting. So I ran. In 4 weeks, I got 200 out of 2,000 votes for the Republicans, and that's only 4 weeks. So if I would have started 3 months earlier instead of 4 weeks, maybe I could have won.
So you're going to run again?
Yeah. So but I think, no. Sorry, I mean, sorry, I'm not. Part of what I think, there was even a couple people that I think maybe voted for me who were pro-abortion. But the reason is because somebody said, this is what I'm standing for, and it has nothing to do with whether people like me or whether people are going to give me goodies. It's like, I'm not saying you're doing that. I'm saying that's the temptation.
Right.
But to kind of like, and I'm not saying everybody does it.
I was, yeah, but I wouldn't say that. I mean, we do have the responsibility to represent our constituents, and I mean, like, there's been bills, and I'm probably one of those people. I mean, occasionally there's bills where I'll go contrary to what I believe in order to represent my constituents, and I try not to do that on a regular basis or very often, but occasionally. I mean, it is probably.
Are there like moral problems, or are they just I wouldn't prefer that. They're kind of like, I don't know about this tax.
No, it's like I was thinking about a bill that might come up that it would prohibit credit card companies from tracking gun sales, and that's probably something that's popular with people, but it's like, I don't know how I'm going to vote on that though, because I believe in free markets too. And so, you could just argue that, nobody has a right to use a credit card, and if the credit card company is tracking gun sales, you just tear up your card and you don't do business with that company.
So you like individuals decide.
Right. So I don't know how I'd vote on that bill because my constituents may strongly in favor of it. So
right.
That's the type of thing I have to think through and consider.
Oh, absolutely. And so that sounds like in a case, well, there could be a moral thing there, but it sounds more like a can I dare say it's kind of like a preference issue.
Yeah.
So when you have, but that would be the difference between if someone's pushing for pedophilia that's to be legal. Let's say your whole district is blue, like goes because Bonner Springs is, I think, kind of more bluish than red. Like where I am, that's where Mike Thompson is. It's like purple, maybe it's purple. I'm not sure, but somehow, like in somebody's district, the pedophile people, Man-Boy Love Association, gets some momentum and traction, and they're like pushing for this. Hey, all these people want this. Here's the petition. You're like,
oh yeah, I wouldn't. I'm not saying I would always vote for my constituents.
Sure. So in that case, you're doing what's good for them, even though they don't realize it.
Right. Yeah.
So in this case, if you go on the righteous route, where this is murder, folks, you can't play with this. This is playing games with murdering people. Then if they say, well, we want it, you're like, you want murder? You really want murder?
It just said if the only two options are either if we can't pass your bill, and that's the only two options, are either passing your bill or having unrestricted abortion, and we end up with unrestricted abortion.
Well, the problem comes to they can't, like, why can't we if we can't? Like, what's the holdup?
For one thing, for a lot of people, they think it is just not going to be very popular to punish women because people say that you're sexist, so you don't like women.
So then because now you're exposing the culture for its hypocrisy.
Right.
So you're actually accomplishing things even though you're losing. It looks like you're losing.
And like taking a stand for righteousness.
Yeah, and then God is, He is. I'm not talking about.
I'm just explaining. Well, I mean, I signed on to your bill, but I'm explaining why most people
I understand.
go for it because of
Absolutely.
that, and also because probably most people do support some exceptions, like for rape and incest, and I don't support those, but probably maybe the majority do. I don't know.
Because it's inconsistent. So their inconsistency needs to be exposed. Because in those situations, what do? You go after the one who did the crime.
Right.
And you say, look, lady, we're going to help you as much as you need help. Let's help her. Not say, hey, encourage her to kill her baby.
Well, I mean, I don't.
And I know it's not you. I'm just saying that's what you can tell.
I don't know, and I don't know if there's really any other legislators. I mean, there's 6 or 7, 8 of us who signed on to your bill, and I don't know that any of us go quite as far as you as opposing to and stuff. I mean, I don't think Trevor, Randy, and any of them do either. So I mean, it's
like as in this is what do you? Do you mean they are not for that, or
they're not against the legislation?
Okay, yeah. Well, So when I talk about that situation that you just brought up again, is I keep putting it back to you to focus on the principle and not just incremental, bad. No, it's like, why? Why is it bad? What's wrong with it? So if you had some kind of, again, like the resolution, from what, it's a new thing that got brought up to our attention last week at the GOP convention. Somebody brought up to our attention, why don't you do this? Because then you at least get a declaration from the legislature that they did wrong. And now you've got a public declaration that the legislature has said.
Well,
So that would be like that would be kind of an increment. I mean, if you're a part of it.
let me run by a rule by you that I introduced another day, because it's not really an increment. It's just something that does something different. It's not an increment. It would allow people to. It would allow a survivor of an abortion who obtained an injury to sue the doctor who attempted to abort them once they turn 18. And then it would also allow the parents or legal guardians to sue the doctor. I mean, I don't know. I mean, that's not something that's saying that abortion is fine or whatever, but we're just basically trying to allow people to get compensation for their injuries if they survive an abortion.
Yeah, and I don't on the surface see what's wrong with that in itself. Like it's not. That doesn't stop. I mean, it doesn't stop abortion, but it's dealing with it somehow.
Yeah, and it's not putting anything in the law that says that it should be legal in certain cases. It's trying to get compensation for people.
That's not even that. I feel like that's a totally different. Hey, Mr. Robertson, I think it's a different category.
Yeah.
How you doing, sir? Good. How you doing, man?
All right.
You ready for today?
And one thing to consider, and I got your name at the beginning. What? Brett. Is it Fairchild?
You can call me Brett.
Brett or Brad?
Brett Fairchild.
Brett Fairchild. Okay. Just call you Brett. Brett. I'm Nicholas. May have introduced myself at the beginning. But, this is something to consider that I think it deals very directly with what we're talking about, just with like, well, we can't get this done, or we won't even try. And then in Luke chapter 18, Jesus brings up about a wicked judge, that a persistent widow went to this wicked judge and she said, give me legal protection for my opponent. And he refused for a while, but then she kept coming to him. She's saying, give me legal protection from my opponent. And it says, for a while he was unwilling, but afterward he said to himself, even though I do not fear God nor respect man, yet because this widow bothers me, I will give her legal protection. Otherwise, by continually coming, she will wear me out. And see, that's what Christians have not been for 51 years now, is we've not been the persistent widow where we keep coming and saying, give me legal protection. But in this case, it's not for us, it's for our preborn neighbors. Give my preborn neighbor legal protection. We've taken whatever the Supreme Court will throw at us, little scraps, little crumbs, and we say, okay, what will you give me this time? Rather than this, I'm demanding this, and give it to me, or I'll find someone who will give it to me. Or not to me, but give it to my preborn neighbor. And we have not worn out wicked judges, politicians who don't fear God, because most politicians in this building and in this guilty land do not fear God. There's a few, but not very many. And we need to be wearing them out. And from yourself to us, whether they're the politician themselves in this building, or just a normal, just a Christian preacher, or layman, we need to be saying, this is the bill we want, and we're not going to stop coming until you pass it. Doesn't matter if you're a Christian or atheist. I mean, in the sense that you have a duty, a sworn duty, to uphold the Constitution. Whereas, as we addressed earlier, the 5th and 14th Amendments says no person shall be deprived of life without due process of law. This applies equally to babies in the womb. So do your job and uphold the law, protect these children. Forget what the Supreme Court of Bleeding Kansas says. They're not God. They have violated the Constitution. Ignore them. That's not law. And do your job. This is what the Bible says. You have a duty to before God, because everyone in office, God put them there. They have that legal authority God's given them. Do not violate that authority by murdering people, by putting murder in law under color of law. And so that we need to be like yourself and us. We need to be that persistent widow, saying, not saying we can't do this because the Supreme Court has already ruled. From the U.S. Supreme Court to the Kansas Supreme Court, say, forget what they said. They're not God. They're not. That's not law. This is what we're not requesting. It's what we're demanding. So do it. And if you don't do it now, we're going to keep coming. We're going to come back again and again and again, and until you give us a request, or we'll find someone who will. We'll replace you and find someone who does fear God. But that's like, because it goes into, well, we can't get it passed because this land is full of wicked people and there's no man who fears God who will put it forth. Well, I mean, you do have a few people here, like yourself and of course his name slips my mind, Trevor Jacobs, and I think a couple others. So you do have those men here, and it's not that we can't. Maybe it's that we won't, because we don't think it'll get passed. Well, take the examples of the abolitionists of chattel slavery in America back in the 1800s. They didn't give up. They didn't say, well, it can't work. Chattel slavery has been around for centuries. There's no way it's going to work, so let's not try.
We continue to keep, introducing our rules. I wouldn't say that we're giving up. I mean, that's really all we can do is introduce your bill, and then it's up to the chairman and people to determine whether or not they hear it. I mean, all we can do is introduce it.
Try, yeah. Just obey God rather than man.
And then, it'd be good to interact with Mr. Hawkins.
Yeah, you could try to set up a meeting. I don't know if you'd be able to maybe.
Yeah, well, I have been given counsel about how to do it, kind of not necessarily directly, but indirectly first. And then, but that's
Did all that make sense?
Yeah.
Yes,
I'm probably not get going.
Yes, sir.
but
Yes,
I
sir.
appreciate your time.
No, thank you.
Thank you.
All right,
Thank you.
impromptu. Yeah. All right, Mr. See you, friend.